You're watching Daybreak, reaching you live from the nation's capital. Taking over now to the next discussion. The Nigerian Guild of Editors has said that the inalienable right to access and disseminate information through an independent press is under attack and called for an urgent need to protect the media, adding that the democracy is in danger when a free press is threatened. NGE stated this on the occasion of this year's World Press Freedom Day, which was observed yesterday, the May 3rd. We'll be talking about this with our reviewer, the Director of News, Voice of Nigeria, Ben Sheman. Earlier on, we started off with saying that you're giving us, your own assessment, and we had to hold you there because you can talk on and on and on. You've been in the industry for decades. You've seen how the Nigerian press has evolved over the years into what it is today. So you may continue with that thought now, giving us, your own personal experience and how the press has evolved at the moment.
Yes, I will also tell you a very small story which you know better in this same studio. When you gave me 1 minute to talk, suddenly you said stop. In other words, you gave me the freedom to talk, but you snatched it, even when the 1 minute had not. Now, if we can copy-paste or apply that to Nigeria, yes, in terms of freedom of expressions, you can write, you can own a newspaper. Chapter 4 of the Nigerian Constitution is all about our fundamental human rights. You are free to own your own opinion. You are free to converse opinion. You are free to share or disseminate information. But again, you see, there's no freedom without some limitations. In as much as I can stay here and fling my hands, yes, I have limits as to where my hand stops. But if I move to the center of the table and I fling and I begin to touch your cheeks against your wish, then I should know that my limitations, my rights to fling my hands must stop where my radio stops, so that yours can rotate too. So when it comes to the media, yes, in terms of holding a government to account for what they've done and what they've failed to do, or what they are failing to do, or what they are not doing very well, the Nigerian media is actually trying very well. And in terms of also entrenching the media to ensure that, yes, they perform, that's why you also have the Freedom of Information Act. That act is not really all about the journalists or the media alone. This law allows a farmer to even go to local government chairman. Look, we heard that you've been receiving this much every quarter. Now I want to know the allocation for agriculture. How much did you receive? How was it dispensed? How did you disburse this money? Where can I go and see who are the beneficiaries? And how did they become beneficiaries? The law is there, but Nigerians are not using this same law.
But Mr. Sheman, it's difficult.
Is it Nigerians that are not using it?
Or? It's very difficult to assess. When you want information, you write to ministries, you write to all of those people, they don't respond.
Yes, the law also tells you what to do next. And of course, in terms of looking for information, Stella, as a reporter, you go looking for news. The man says, come 9 o'clock in the morning, because you are, let me go 8:30. You went there, 10, the man came out and said, oh, just a minute, it's come back 2 o'clock. He has still, that resilience, if you just give up, of course, he's happy with that.
Instances where the story would get stale because they deliberately hoard information. We have had that.
Yes, and that's why the law also tells you what to do. When they hoard information, it's at that point that you begin to move to the court. And when
Mr. Sheman, we all know that
the story will get stale in that process.
We all know that some of these processes, I mean, it's just like what you said, that, the illustration you gave, that you give, freedom or you give right with one hand and you take it with the other hand.
Exactly. In fact, not just take, you snatch.
Exactly. So it's one thing to have laws. Is another for them to be implemented, right? And that's more like our case in Nigeria. We have it in the books, we have it in the laws that say, okay, the journalists have a responsibility to hold government to account. But we all know that that comes with a responsibility as well. That comes with a lot of obligations, how many government officials, or or the government itself, how many people in authority will love to, see, where journalists carry out investigations to expose ills that they do, and they will be happy or clap hands for the journalists? Definitely, that will not be the case. So we are talking about how is the journalist protected, as those laws are provided, for the journalists to do those jobs, the mandate to do those jobs. Is the journalist protected by the same law that gives him that mandate to do the job? That's one question I would like for you to answer.
Honestly, in terms of, say, the journalist is protected, I mean, the journalist is part of the general population in society. So government cannot single out a journalist for protection. So he's just left on his own.
Not even the nature of his jobs gives him that privilege to have some kind of special consideration when it comes to protection.
How many journalists have been insured by the government? Government does not insure journalists.
I'm talking about laws. I'm talking about laws in terms of prosecution. Like, a journalist carries out an investigation and publishes a story, and next thing, someone is after his life.
Yeah, you see, someone is out after somebody's life is because, one, a story has been found. Somebody went to know the veracity, the true nature of that, and investigated thoroughly. And when we say thoroughly, all sides must be heard. And when you feel aggrieved and you're now pursuing that man to kill, of course you're already guilty. And that's at that point that the security agencies should protect the journalist. And even if you are covering, say, the National Assembly, for example, there is what you call absolute freedom to report. There is also the qualified freedom to report. When you have absolute freedom, you see, at the floor of the Senate or House of Reps or State Assembly, as it is, once the session is on and somebody is talking all that he is saying, see, you have that absolute freedom to report that. But you see, it's going to be another qualified freedom when the environment changes. This person is not contributing on the floor of the Senate is not on session, and of course, he now moves to the corridor and he's talking. Yes, the environment is protected, but that story, you have to be very, very careful, and that's why it is described as qualified freedom to report. And when it is qualified freedom, it is actionable in court. But when it is absolute freedom, anything the Senate President has said, either condemning the executive or judiciary, or one vibrant senator or House of Reps member is vomiting fire. Honestly, have you ever seen that they've taken them to court? No, they don't take them to court. Just a moment. And the reporter who reported verbatim exactly what has been said over there is never actionable. So he has absolute freedom. So the law itself tells the journalists what to do and what not to do, so that you don't fall into some traps that the law will take its course on one.
Mr. Chairman, these laws are there. Journalists know these laws. But why is it that when a story is done and a particular person or a government official doesn't like it, instead of following the laws, taking that organization or the reporter to court, he will send thugs or security operatives to come and arrest the person. In some instances, if it's an institution, they'll come and shut down that institution. They'll pack their computers. They'll take in their journalists. That has happened to even the Daily Trust newspaper not long ago, you understand? What the question is, why don't you follow the laid-down procedure if you're not comfortable with a particular story?
Because your background here is somebody telling you, do you know who I am? I am His Excellency, the executive, so.
Should that be the case?
It shouldn't be at all.
Considering that the position of the journalist is in the Constitution.
Absolutely, it shouldn't be. And I tell you, among all professions, journalism or mass media is the one so much enshrined in the Constitution. If you check, fourth estate of the realm. When you're having the executive, you're having the legislature, you have the judiciary, who again has been mentioned. Is the journalist the fourth estate?
Because, I mean, we say the fourth estate of REM, and it gives it that glamorous look that
makes it look like you're important,
is one institution that is being respected and all of that. How do we, enshrine in that same constitution that gives the journalists that mandate? I still talk about protection here, and I'm not talking about, say, special orderlies or maybe some kind of special police officers following you around as journalists. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about provisions in the law that says when a journalist carried out so and so and so and ABCD, sending thugs or sending police to arrest such a journalist should be frowned at by government officials. And if that happens, then that person should also face the law.
Absolutely. You see, a wrong is a wrong. Once a story has been written and you don't find it palatable, you must not take the law onto yourself. You cannot order arrest, you arrest, you detain. The case of Abba Jalingo in Cross Rivers is still there. And many other people in Kaduna State, it happened with, what's his, Steve. I mean, it happened with... the
NUJ said yesterday that in 2021, 44 journalists were murdered.
Absolutely. Sometimes during crossfire. Sometimes, I mean, murder implies there was a premeditated kind of a plan to carry that murder. But if you are killed, it's different. So when you see that some people actually are not happy with certain reports and they feel you have unearthed what they've been hiding, of course they just find ways of eliminating. And we are saying that there has to be a means of checking that. In some countries they have what they call the position of ombudsman. This ombudsman is so independent. A thing of this nature has happened, that person will investigate thoroughly, independently, and when they come with facts, the facts will just speak for themselves. And in Nigeria, we don't have that.
Okay,
so
now
there has to be an ombudsman.
Oh, okay, now can we talk about another thing that is killing the profession of journalism, which is the issue of the brown envelope syndrome? This is, well, I don't know whether it's a thing for other journalists around the world, but in Nigeria, it's been particularly a very huge problem, which to a very large extent is putting journalists in positions where they have to now compromise. And holistically, if you look at it, as it relates even employers who, employ journalists and they do not pay, the journalist and all of that. Can you comment on that?
Yes, you see, let me remember something. I used to have this friend, Oji Obunaya Oji. He's the executive secretary of Naiti now. When we were covering the State House then, there were some events we went, and some media foreign guys were there, and they saw that names. You write your name and the medium. You write your name and the white man was taken aback. He said, what's this list for? Oji is a jovial fellow. He said, look, these are people who have already made up their minds that they will receive brown envelopes. So what does it mean, brown envelope? They will give them money. So wow, please. The man just folded his hands this way and refused to write anything. And we said, just watch and see what will happen thereafter. And lo, it came to pass. It is not the ideal thing. This, in fact, even taking tea being provided by a politician to foreign journalists, they frown at it. If you are given conference bags, yes, these are materials that you find information, but you go back to your office and declare them. But with us in Nigeria, you are simply giving an ID card. No training, nothing, and of course no salary. Salaries are not coming forth. And some journalists tell us that they are being paid now, instead of salaries per month, you are paid per stories. Now, if you are able to write, maybe a story is 300 naira, a story is 500 naira, even if it is 1,000 naira. So, how many journalists will write 30 stories in a month? If you wrote 30 stories, it means you have 30,000. Now, you are going to the same market with any other person in CBN, in Federal Inland Revenue, and other places that pay very well. So the journalist is actually at the receiving end. And that is why politicians have also seen how vulnerable these journalists are. And they can always sway them to whatever they want. And if you are unfortunate that the publisher is different from the editorial team, sometimes when a reporter is so stubborn about the story, they can leave him alone and speak with the editors. You know, you think, okay, that story will not come out, and they burst over it. You know, so it behoves on media owners.
How important is this in shaping the kind of stories that we see on our newspaper, on our media outlets every day? How does it influence the kind of information that the members of the public get at the end of the day? And how does that also, influence the choices that people make, members of the public, they make as regards even governance and politics, the issues of trust and governance and the likes?
You see, when you see a story that has been paid for, that story will smell the naira. It will. Because it is so skewed, one-sided, never a balance at all. No in-depth, nobody goes to look at the other side of the story. And that affects professionalism a great deal. And I'll still go back to what I was trying to say. Media owners, media organizations, begin to pay your workers very well. Like I was saying in my opening statement, you see the journalists making nice stories from the National Assembly, from ministries, and from the military security agencies. They risk their lives, and they are in the presidency. But at the close of work, is then you see them walking to go such distances, get a vehicle, go get another distance, join with a motorcycle before they could reach their home. They report in cities, in mansions, in big hotels, but go and see their residential areas. Face me, I face you, and they go to the same market. They have to pay school fees. They have to pay all sorts of things, their bills, light, utility bills. So if we want journalists to be respected, they have to be taken care of properly. And a situation where media houses do not even have vehicles. I mean, it says a lot when you see a vehicle with your logo, your staff well-dressed, looking so fine, but you go see some people who cannot even polish their shoes.
This leads me, let me just build on, let me just do a follow-up to this. Now, if you look at this, regulation is very critical in what you just said now, in terms of, the requirements for setting up media organizations, from those who are interested in setting up media organizations. What are the kind of requirements that we look at, and the regulations? And again, there's a thin line between regulation and then also muzzling the media. Also, that's another issue again. So how do we draw the balance between government trying to regulate the industry to make sure that some of these issues are taken care of, and at the same time, it doesn't, at the end of the day, suppress the media?
Well, maybe we'll go back to maybe theories of mass communication, for example, where you have, in fact, when the man who first introduced the press, William Coxton, of course, he was just publishing unhindered. Very well, he was doing it. So at the point, some people felt, look, this absolute freedom to publish all these things should begin to be checked. So you had the authoritarian theory. Those in government were not in support of many things that was coming out from William Coxton. So they decided that the media should at a point be controlled, some elements be controlled by technocrats, some elements be controlled by government, so that there is a kind of a check and balance. You don't just push anything to the society. And so again, the liberty theory, libertarian theory also came in, that you are at liberty. Please publish everything without any consequence. But is it obtainable in the world? Look at what happened to Julian Assange now, WikiLeaks story. If America today, since 2010, has been looking for that man to face justice because of what they call controlled information, information that was leaked, that was not supposed to be leaked. He did all of that, including our own NNPC here and many other Nigerians who indeed got money and how they got all of things. And so if he did all of that, Nigerians were happy. Oh, we didn't know all of this, including minutes of board meeting in NNPC here. And so, I mean, the authority in Nigeria fell bad, just the way the Americans are feeling. But we are saying that in terms of controlling, it should not be the Russian USSR kind of a theory, where they believe it should be Marxism, Lenin theory, everything belongs to the worker and state. And therefore, you cannot operate outside what has been laid down. The media is owned by government. Anything you say, the information is owned by government. Your thinking will want to be owned by government. Not until Gorbachev came with glasnost and perestroika, and they said there has to be some openness, let some people come invest, there has to be some media freedom, let people feel free to...
So in our own climate, in our own context, how do we draw the balance? We have there's a responsibility to regulate certain aspects of the media, which is to ensure that, you know, only properly funded organizations are established. There should be some kind of requirement, you know, to make sure that the welfare of journalists is taken into consideration when setting up platforms. People shouldn't just set up things because they feel they can, right? And then also there is also the responsibility to allow the press, you know, that level of freedom to be able to operate freely without intimidation, without fear or favor.
Absolutely. You know, government has some fears. There are some documents, they say, national interest, national security. If it divulge some information, it could be inimical, it could be dangerous to society. When troops are moving, just like El Rufai was saying, there are informants who indeed expose too many things government is planning. It's the same way with the press. There are some limitations when it comes to. I support the fact that there should be some elements of control, but not absolute control. I frown at the situation where you sign this oath of secrecy. Oath of secrecy implies that you are banned from talking, you are barred from talking to the press. If you check virtually all presidential aides, except for those who indeed are spokesmen for the president, they are free to talk. But many others do not just talk. And of course, you have for broadcasting, National Broadcasting Commission is to regulate some of these excesses and also give some rights to the journalists. Where you are also having some issues with newspaper, the print, you have the Nigerian Press Council, where indeed they always say, if a newspaper publication is injurious to you, please come. Let's see what we can do. Okay. But again, even Newspapers Proprietors Association of Nigeria, MPAN, they took that matter to court. Look, one, we don't want to be registered, we don't want to be monitored, we don't want to, and so.
Okay, but it would not be fair for you to go without saying something about a theme for this year, journalism under digital siege, where surveillance and hacking of phones and all of that is happening. Journalist sources, people now are able to find out who the sources are. And you know what that means in journalism, if people are able to know your source. Going forward, how is that going to be?
Honestly, I think there appears to be this, not just gagging, the surveillance. I tell you what, when we were frequenting Maiduguri those days, journalists would tell you how Boko Haram members would just call you and tell you where you live, names of your children. You know, that spells doom. We also don't expect that security agencies will follow suit, because virtually everything about you is already registered through your NIMSI, of course, your phone number, your fingerprints, your address, and of course, Google Map can always trace quite a lot of people. And I still remember the media under siege. Even News Agency of Nigeria during the Mioyo was hacked. People went in and dumped some materials that were anti-government. And people said, oh, this is coming from NAN. Now they have their total independence, you know. So it happens that, yes, the media is under siege. And that's why you see that people just print, you pick something from the social media because of this citizen journalism. People have their phones, you can just snap, there's an accident, instead of you to go there and rescue, you are busy filming the car number, filming gory pictures, and of course already sending. And some loved ones will just see all of that in the media. And you find that very, very unprofessional. And I think that I will still repeat it. Let us ensure our journalists, let us also imbibe sometimes what we call developmental journalism. That is also a theory, that it is always not the bad things that must be aired. And the old saying, where it bleeds, it sells. No, it shouldn't be the thing. That where people are killing, are dying, it shouldn't be the news.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you coming on the program. We look forward to having you again.
Thank you very much.
Yes, that was Ben Shemak, the Director News, Voice of Nigeria, here with us on Daybreak. We'll take a short breather, and then when we come back, the show continues. Please stay. This is Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
The rains are here again. Floods are ravaging. Why? As residents of FCT, we have made some wrong choices. Dumping refuse in water channels, building on waterways, damaging water lines. The consequences of flooding can be devastating. Lives are lost. Properties are damaged. People are displaced. Farmlands are destroyed. Don't make the wrong choices. Don't build on floodplains. Don't dump refuse in waterways. Don't damage water lines. Clear all refuse in waterways around your premises. Together, we can safeguard lives and property. Do the right thing now. For emergencies, please call 112 or 122. This message is from the FCT Emergency Management Agency, FEMA.
You're welcome back. We've been talking with Mr. Ben Shemak on the press freedom in Nigeria. Now we're going to look at the lighter side. We're going to talk sports now. Yesterday, the Champions League games went down between Villarreal and Liverpool, with the Red again booking a spot in the final. Madrid is up against another English giant, Manchester City, tonight, who holds a slim advantage going into the evening duel at the Santiago football field. Let's get reaction and preview from a sports journalist, Omodia Okwuelegbe, who joins us virtually from Lagos. Good morning, Omodia. Good morning. It's good to see you again. Okay. Yesterday, please walk us through that match. You know, at some point, I thought that Villarreal was going to pull a surprise on Liverpool. You know, in the first half, with what Villarreal played in the first half, scoring 2 goals, I thought I was, you know, I thought they were cruising to the finals.
very, very well. The time we just the first half was they were a bit and
Yes, but you know, I think though Villarreal didn't get to the finals, I think kudos should also go to them. Nobody expected them to do this well, don't you think? A lot of people didn't give them this kind of chance. Oh, it appears we're having some problems. Omodia. Omodia. Well, are you still there? Okay. Yes, I was talking about Villarreal, right? You know, in the first quarterfinals, when they beat Bayern 1-0, everybody, a lot of sports analysts were like, in the return leg, Bayern was going to show these people, and that did not happen. Oh, it appears we're still having the same problem. Omodia. Oh. Yes, yeah, we can hear you. Please go ahead. I think the network is freezing. Yeah. So we'll take a break. We'll take a break now. When we return, hopefully we'll be able to speak to Omodia.
This is Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
All right, welcome back. We had to cut off the discussion with the sports analyst because of technical issues, but he's now here with us. Omodia. Yes, I can hear you. You were talking about the Villarreal match. Yeah, I think it's still difficult. We'll have to discontinue this
We'll have to end this
conversation.
now because of our network. But there's more to come. 360 Sports will take care of much more on this. It comes up at 10:30 a.m. shortly after the news update here on Trust TV. You will get all the sites and all the all that went down yesterday during that match.
Especially the preview of what is going to happen tonight between Man City and Real Madrid. That's going to be a tough match because both of them want to be in the finals.
True.
Yeah.
All right.
We already have one English club in the finals, so I would like an English club and a Spanish club in the finals, not both English clubs actually. So we'll see what happens tonight.
Well, yeah, we'll see how all of that will pan out. With that, we've come to the end of the program for today. You can watch all that we've discussed on the show today. It's been quite an interesting one. Yesterday being the World Press Freedom Day, we looked at some of the issues and, of course, the stories on our front pages, the Eid and a whole lot of other issues that we looked at on the program. If you want to catch up on that, you subscribe to our YouTube channel and also follow us across all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We are all there. My name is Ayuba Ilya.
Thank you for spending this part of your morning with us. Do well again to join us same time tomorrow. My name is Stella Iyaji. Bye.